By the time you reach 60 years of age, something almost no one talks about begins to take hold of your body. Quietly, invisibly, but relentlessly. It is the slow erosion of your muscle mass, a condition known as sarcopenia, and for most people, it starts years before they ever notice it. You begin to lose up to 1% of your muscle mass every single year after the age of 40. And by the time you notice weakness, fatigue, or difficulty performing simple daily activities, the damage has already taken hold. The terrifying part is that this muscle loss isn't always the result of age alone. It's often driven by daily nutritional mistakes we have been told are healthy. Yes, even if you think you're eating enough protein, the way you're consuming it might be sabotaging your recovery, your strength, and even your metabolism. And that leads to a painful question. What if what you eat every day is silently aging your muscles? What if the foods you believe are helping you are actually pushing you toward weakness, joint pain, and dependency? It's not just about building muscle like a bodybuilder. This is about protecting your body's ability to move, to stand tall, to live independently as the years go by. We live in a world where protein bars, whey shakes, high-protein cereals, and meat substitutes flood the market, promising youth, fitness, and vitality. But here's what most people don't know. After 40 years old, your body's ability to digest, absorb, and utilize protein begins to change drastically. The digestive enzymes responsible for breaking protein down become less efficient. The muscle cells become less responsive to the amino acids they receive. And worst of all, the timing and type of protein you consume start to matter more than ever before. That's why simply eating more protein doesn't work for many people over 40. They follow advice designed for 20-year-olds with lightning-fast metabolisms and resilient recovery systems. But our biology shifts, quietly but profoundly. And unless you adapt to those changes, you may never see the muscle growth or recovery you're working for. One of the biggest mistakes people make is relying on fast-digesting proteins, especially first thing in the morning. Think about it. What do most people have when they try to eat healthy? A protein shake, maybe with almond milk or water. Maybe a high-protein cereal or a bar. Seems healthy, right? But here is the problem. Those proteins digest so quickly that they cause a rapid spike of amino acids in your bloodstream, and then just as rapidly that level drops. It lasts like dumping a bucket of water on a dry field in a matter of seconds. It floods the surface, but barely sinks into the roots. Your muscles need a sustained supply of amino acids, not a brief surge. Without it, your body can't efficiently synthesize muscle tissue. This is made worse by another common issue: insufficient leucine. Leucine is one of the most important amino acids when it comes to activating muscle protein synthesis. Think of leucine as the key that turns the ignition of your muscle-building engine. Without enough leucine, even if you're eating protein, your muscles won't turn on the repair and growth process. Research shows that older adults need significantly more leucine per meal to trigger muscle recovery compared to younger individuals. But guess what? Most plant-based protein powders and even many animal-based ones fall short on this critical amino acid. So you might be putting in the effort, eating protein, working out, staying active. But if your meals lack sufficient leucine, it's like pressing the gas pedal on a car that hasn't been started. And then there's the timing mistake. If you eat the majority of your protein in one meal, say dinner, you might be unknowingly missing out on optimal recovery. After the age of 40, your body needs more consistent, evenly distributed protein intake throughout the day to maintain and build muscle. A huge protein-packed dinner won't compensate for low-protein breakfasts and lunches. In fact, this eating pattern has been linked to higher rates of muscle breakdown in aging adults. And that's just the beginning. Because protein is not just about quantity, it's about quality, timing, distribution, and digestibility. What no one tells you is that the very habits you've trusted for years may now be working against your biology. If only it ended there, but there's something else almost no one knows. Because the damage doesn't stop at your muscles. It extends to your metabolism, your hormones, and your very ability to burn fat and sustain energy. As you pass 40 years old, muscle becomes more than just strength. It becomes a metabolic shield. Your muscle tissue is the primary site where glucose is cleared from the bloodstream, where fat is burned, and where energy is stored for future activity. So every gram of muscle you lose through improper protein intake accelerates your risk of insulin resistance, weight gain, and even cognitive decline. That is the terrifying cascade that begins when the protein mistakes accumulate, unnoticed. One of the biggest silent saboteurs is low-protein breakfasts. Most people over 40 start their day with something like toast, oatmeal, fruit, or coffee with a small bite, maybe a protein bar if they're trying to be all healthy. But these choices fail to provide the necessary amino acids to break the overnight catabolic state your body enters during sleep. You wake up in a fasted, muscle-degrading state, and if you don't provide real, complete protein within 90 minutes, your body begins breaking down existing muscle tissue for fuel. That means you are literally cannibalizing your muscle mass every morning when your breakfast is insufficient. And even worse, these low-protein breakfasts usually come with high carbohydrates, causing blood sugar spikes that further promote fat storage and energy crashes. So, what's the solution? The first key change is this. Make your first meal of the day protein dominant, not carbohydrate dominant. Prioritize complete proteins like pasture-raised eggs, organic Greek yogurt, or a balanced protein shake with added leucine. You want at least 30 grams of protein, rich in leucine and slow-digesting amino acids, within the first hour of waking up. This stabilizes your muscle tissue, activates metabolism, and stops the catabolic state. The second change is to distribute protein equally across 3 meals, instead of loading up at dinner. Aim for 30 to 40 grams at breakfast, again at lunch, and again at dinner. This constant, evenly spaced supply ensures that your muscle repair processes stay active all day long, and you don't need to eat more food overall, just adjust your ratios. You might be wondering, why haven't doctors and nutritionists emphasized this before? The answer is both frustrating and sad. Most nutritional studies were done on young adults or athletes. The recommendations for protein were based on nitrogen balance, not on optimal function or muscle preservation. Only in recent years have scientists begun to realize that older adults have what S called anabolic resistance, a decreased sensitivity to protein, meaning they need more of it, not less, to maintain the same effect. But the guidelines haven't caught up. So people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s follow outdated charts and recommendations, believing they're doing the right thing, when in fact, they're undermining their own strength and independence. And there's one more layer that almost no one talks about: inflammation. If your gut is inflamed due to processed foods, stress, alcohol, or even hidden food intolerances, your ability to digest and absorb protein is compromised. You could be eating enough protein on paper, but still not delivering those critical amino acids to your muscles. So reducing inflammation becomes essential. That means cutting out industrial seed oils, limiting refined sugars, avoiding artificial sweeteners, and supporting your digestion with enzymes, probiotics, and fermented foods. Because without a healthy gut lining and functioning digestion, the best proteins in the world can still leave you malnourished. Is it really possible to reverse this even past 70? The answer is a resounding yes, but only if you start acting now. The body has an incredible ability to regenerate and recover, but it needs the right fuel, delivered in the right way. We've seen 80-year-olds double their strength in 12 weeks simply by optimizing their protein intake and doing gentle resistance training. It is not about lifting heavy weights or chasing extremes. It is about restoring what time and neglect have stolen. But before you begin rebuilding, you must stop the sabotage. And the first step is fixing the way you approach protein. Because the real danger is not what you feel today. It is what you want to feel until it is too late. Weakness does not come all at once. It arrives slowly, masked by fatigue, joint stiffness, and a growing reluctance to move. And protein, the most essential macronutrient for repair, is either your greatest ally or your silent enemy, depending on how you use it. But that's not the only food that ages your muscles. Because beyond protein timing, digestion, and absorption lies a food group that many consider healthy, even essential. Yet it may be silently accelerating your muscle loss and preventing recovery. Refined carbohydrates. These are not just the obvious culprits like white bread or pastries, but also so-called healthy foods like granola bars, flavored yogurts, breakfast cereals, and even whole wheat crackers. What most people over 40 do not realize is that the combination of excess carbohydrates and inadequate protein causes a metabolic conflict. Your body, when flooded with carbohydrates, shifts its focus to managing blood sugar. Insulin rises to shuttle glucose into cells, but here's the catch. High insulin levels suppress muscle protein synthesis. That means even if you eat protein with your meal, elevated insulin from carbohydrate-heavy foods can block your muscles from utilizing it properly. This creates a vicious cycle. Your body stores more fat, loses more muscle, and becomes more insulin-resistant. Over time, this leads to a condition known as sarcopenic obesity, having too much fat and too little muscle, even if you do not appear overweight on the outside. It is a condition increasingly common in people in their 50s and 60s who follow standard nutritional advice. And it worsens each year you keep trusting the food pyramid, or blindly believe that eating a little bit of everything is the way to health. The truth is, your nutritional needs over 40 are radically different from what they were in your 20s. Your metabolism slows, your hormones shift, and your cells respond differently to food. Continuing to eat as you did when you were younger is not neutral, it is dangerous. The body becomes more sensitive to insulin, inflammation, and nutrient deficiencies. And refined carbohydrates do not just rob you of metabolic balance, they increase systemic inflammation, which directly interferes with muscle recovery. Chronic inflammation disrupts signaling pathways required for muscle repair and damages mitochondria, the energy centers of your cells. Without healthy mitochondria, your muscle cells cannot generate the energy they need to repair and grow. This is why people over 40 can work out, eat clean, and still feel tired, weak, or stuck. They are trying to heal with inflammatory foods still in the system. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone, and it is not your fault. The food industry has spent decades marketing sugary foods as energy boosters, protein bars as fitness tools, and cereals as healthy starts to the day. But if you flip the label, most of these products contain more sugar than a candy bar, inflammatory oils, and barely usable protein. So what can you do instead? Begin with blood sugar control. Eat protein first at every meal, followed by healthy fats and fiber-rich vegetables. Save complex carbohydrates for after exercise or in smaller portions. This feeding pattern not only supports stable energy and hunger control, but also improves insulin sensitivity and promotes muscle retention. Consider removing or reducing hidden sources of sugar. Sweetened yogurts, dressings, sauces, breads, and even low-fat products often contain added sugars that spike your insulin. Next, eliminate industrial seed oils, canola, soybean, corn, and sunflower oils. These are oxidized fats that inflame your body from the inside out, disrupting both hormonal balance and tissue repair. Instead, use extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, or grass-fed butter. These fats nourish your cells and provide anti-inflammatory compounds that assist in muscle preservation. Lastly, stop eating out of convenience. Your muscles depend on quality, not just calories. Meal prep is no longer optional. It is a critical act of self-respect after 40. Cooking your own meals, choosing your ingredients, and understanding how food affects your recovery is no longer a luxury. It is the gateway to preserving your independence, because every bite is a choice. Are you feeding your future strength or your future weakness? Are you giving your body the materials to rebuild, or just the distractions of flavor without function? These are not small questions. They define whether you will rise from a chair at 70 with ease or struggle, whether you will walk freely or depend on others, whether you will age in power or in pain. If you've ever felt like your effort does not match your results, this is why. Your body is not just aging, it is adapting to the environment you create with food. The good news, you can still take control. You can still reclaim your metabolism, protect your muscle, and restore your vitality. But it requires a radical shift, not just in diet, but in mindset. Stop chasing weight loss. Start chasing strength. Stop fearing fat. Start fearing weakness, and stop believing that aging has to mean decline. Because decline is not inevitable. It is the result of neglect. And the greatest act of prevention you can make right now is to fix the way you fuel your body. But remember, there's one more food mistake even worse than this, and it hides in plain sight. If you're finding these revelations helpful, make sure you subscribe. What comes next could change how you eat forever. Because the most deceptive muscle-destroying mistake does not come from sugar, carbohydrates, or even processed snacks. It comes from something that's supposed to help: protein supplements. Yes, protein powders, shakes, and bars, those convenient, fast, and seemingly smart choices that millions rely on daily, can actually be sabotaging your recovery and muscle retention if you are over 40 years old. But how is that possible? It begins with the quality and composition of these products. Most commercial protein supplements are made from low-grade whey, heavily processed with heat, acid, and chemicals that denature the fragile amino acids your muscles need to rebuild. They're often spiked with artificial sweeteners, gums, emulsifiers, and preservatives that irritate your gut lining and interfere with absorption. Even so-called clean protein powders can be misleading. Using isolated forms like soy protein isolate or pea protein isolate without the necessary complementary amino acids. The result? You consume what looks like a high-protein supplement on paper, but your body is unable to use it effectively. And over time, this creates a silent deficiency. You might be consuming 100 grams of protein per day, but absorbing far less. Especially past 40, when digestion slows, stomach acid production drops, and enzyme activity weakens, you need protein that is both bioavailable and complete. Most plant-based proteins are incomplete unless carefully combined. Most mass-market whey proteins are stripped of their natural cofactors. And the added ingredients, especially artificial sweeteners like sucralose or acesulfame potassium, disrupt your gut flora, triggering inflammation that further degrades your ability to absorb protein. And here is something almost no one talks about. These ingredients don't just impact your gut, they impact your brain. Chronic exposure to these synthetic additives has been linked to fatigue, mental fog, cravings, and even mood swings. If you're over 40 and feeling low energy, demotivated, or like your workouts leave you depleted instead of restored, this could be why. So what is the solution? First, ditch the commercial protein bars and ready-made shakes. Replace them with whole food-based smoothies made at home. Use grass-fed collagen, organic bone broth protein, or cold-processed whey concentrate from pasture-raised cows. These provide a full amino acid profile, along with natural cofactors like glycine and proline, which support not only muscle repair, but joint and skin health, critical after 40. Next, support your digestion. Take a full-spectrum digestive enzyme with meals. Consider supplementing with betaine hydrochloride to increase stomach acid, especially if you experience bloating or heaviness after protein-rich meals. Eat bitter foods like arugula, dandelion greens, lemon water to stimulate your digestive system naturally. And most importantly, rotate your protein sources. Do not rely on the same powder or the same food every day. Your body needs variety to thrive. Rotate between high-quality eggs, organic meats, wild fish, fermented dairy, legumes if tolerated, and clean protein powders. Every source comes with a different amino acid ratio and micronutrient profile. You need this diversity to maintain optimal function. Now you might be thinking, does this really make such a difference? The answer is absolutely. One recent study found that when older adults switched from standard protein supplements to whole food-based, minimally processed proteins, their rates of muscle protein synthesis increased by over 30%. That's the difference between slowing down and rebuilding, between feeling stuck and feeling strong again. And what if you're plant-based? You can still optimize muscle recovery, but you must be more strategic. Combine rice protein with pea protein, or use a blend that includes quinoa, chia, and amaranth. Add lysine-rich foods, and monitor your energy, recovery, and digestion closely. The goal is not to be perfect, it's to be intentional, because what you consume today becomes your performance tomorrow. And when you're over 40, there is less margin for error. Your protein must be clean, complete, digestible, and timed correctly. Anything less is a missed opportunity to heal, rebuild, and grow. Do not fall for the convenience trap. Just because something is easy does not mean it is effective. And the longer you rely on synthetic, low-quality sources, the more your body pays the price. And here's the truth that hits the hardest. Most of us were never taught this. We grew up thinking that as long as we hit the numbers, it would work. That 20 grams from a bar is equal to 20 grams from salmon, but they are worlds apart. Quality matters more than quantity, especially now. Especially when recovery takes longer, inflammation is higher, and hormones are shifting. If your protein is wrong, your entire foundation is unstable. But fixing this does not require extreme measures. It requires awareness, consistency, and choosing what truly supports your biology. And if you are willing to make that change, you will see results, real, lasting results, in weeks. Not just in strength or body composition, but in energy, mental clarity, sleep quality, and confidence. Because muscle is not just about looks. It is your metabolic currency. It is your buffer against aging. And it is never too late to build more of it. But only if you stop poisoning your recovery with the very products that promise to help. And sadly, that is still not the most damaging mistake. Because beyond the cheap protein powders, the sugar-loaded health snacks, and the low-fat lies, there is one mistake that is so deeply embedded into our modern eating habits that most people over 40 make it without even realizing: skipping protein at breakfast. It sounds simple, almost harmless, but the consequences are devastating. Why? Because your body has just gone 6, 8, sometimes 12 hours without food. You wake up in a catabolic state where your body is breaking down tissue, including muscle, for energy. If you skip protein in your first meal, or worse, skip breakfast altogether, you extend this catabolic window. Your body keeps pulling amino acids from your muscle tissue to feed essential processes. And this is not a theory, it is a biochemical reality. After the age of 40, your anabolic resistance increases, meaning your muscles respond less efficiently to protein. You need more high-quality protein per meal to trigger the same muscle protein synthesis that younger bodies achieve with less. If you wait until lunch to consume adequate protein, you lose precious hours of recovery and rebuilding. This is how sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle, begins. Not in your 70s, but decades earlier. And it happens silently. No warnings, no pain, just subtle shifts in your strength, energy, posture, and eventually, your independence. But what do most people eat for breakfast after 40? Toast with jam, a banana, maybe coffee with a splash of milk, or worse, nothing at all. These choices spike your blood sugar, trigger an insulin roller coaster, and provide almost zero usable protein. By midday, you're not only nutrient deprived, but your cortisol remains elevated, pushing your body further into breakdown. The result? Slower metabolism, higher fat storage, increased cravings, and the most dangerous of all, accelerated muscle loss. The solution begins with one powerful change: front-loading your protein. Make breakfast your most anabolic meal. Consume 25 to 40 grams of high-quality protein within the first 90 minutes of waking. This is not optional, it is essential, and the effect is immediate. You stabilize blood sugar, reduce cortisol, improve focus, and initiate muscle protein synthesis, starting your day in a rebuilding mode instead of a breakdown mode. And here, what's even more exciting, when you shift your protein intake earlier in the day, studies show you burn more fat, improve insulin sensitivity, and experience fewer cravings at night. This simple realignment of your meals can literally reverse trends that were once thought to be just part of aging. What does a protein-rich breakfast look like? It could be pasture-raised eggs with avocado and sautéed greens, a collagen-rich smoothie with almond butter, chia seeds, and berries, a bowl of quinoa with hemp seeds and Greek yogurt. The key is balance. You want a full spectrum of amino acids plus healthy fats and fiber to sustain energy. Avoid cereals, pastries, and meal replacement shakes unless you've made them yourself with real ingredients. And yes, this may require a bit more effort, but the reward is decades of strength, vitality, and clarity. If you are still hesitant, ask yourself this: what is the cost of doing nothing? Of staying in the same routine, eating the same meals, watching your strength fade slowly year by year, thinking it's just getting older? It is not. It is a consequence of nutrition that does not match your body's needs anymore. And once you understand this, you can take control, not just of your meals, but of your entire trajectory. Because muscle is not built in the gym, it is built in the kitchen, especially at breakfast. Your body is waiting for signals. Every bite you take is a message. It says build, or it says break. And if you consistently send the right signals early in the day, you will notice something profound: better energy, sharper thinking, deeper sleep, and renewed motivation. This is not hype. It is physiology. The science is clear, and yet barely anyone over 40 is talking about this. That is why you are here, to break the cycle, to wake up, not just physically, but nutritionally. Because the truth is, no supplement, no workout, no biohack can override a body that is starving for real fuel. And once you fix this one habit, protein at breakfast, you will unlock a momentum that spills into every part of your life. That morning walk becomes easier. That project at work gets finished faster. That feeling of being stuck begins to dissolve. And you realize something that might shock you. You are not too old to feel young again. Not by a long shot, but it requires the right foundation, and breakfast is where it begins. Still, there is one more factor, one that sabotages even the best morning meals, and it hides in your kitchen, your habits, and even your emotions. It is not what you think. It is not carbohydrates, not fats, not even sugar. It is the chronic underestimation of protein absorption, and the myth that your body can only process a small amount of protein per meal. This outdated idea has misled millions, especially those over 40, into rationing their protein in tiny portions throughout the day, fearing that anything over 30 grams will be wasted. But modern science tells a different story, and it is crucial for anyone past 40 who wants to maintain or build muscle. Your body is not a rigid calculator. It is an adaptive, intelligent system capable of utilizing much more protein than we once believed, especially when it is paired with resistance training, proper sleep, and digestive support. What happens when you consume a high-protein meal, 40, 50, even 60 grams? First, your liver converts part of it to glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, which supports stable energy. Second, your body uses the amino acids to fuel not just muscle, but hormones, neurotransmitters, immune cells, and the repair of vital tissues. And third, your muscles receive the essential building blocks they need to grow and recover. So the idea that your body simply discards extra protein is not just wrong, it is harmful, because it discourages people from consuming enough to meet their needs, especially when anabolic resistance kicks in during midlife. If you are over 40, your muscles become less responsive to protein signals. You need higher doses to trigger the same muscle synthesis response that younger people achieve with less. And this is not a guess. It has been confirmed in studies published in respected journals like the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Yet this outdated myth persists. It is spread by trainers, by online influencers, even by some nutritionists who have not updated their knowledge in decades. And what is the result? People eat 12 grams of protein here, 15 grams there, thinking they are doing fine, when in reality, they are barely scratching the surface of what their body needs to preserve muscle and prevent decline. And even worse, they might be consuming that protein alongside inflammatory oils, refined sugars, and artificial additives that actively impair absorption. Because digestion is not just about what you eat, it is about what your body can actually assimilate. If your gut is inflamed, if your stomach acid is weak, if your liver and pancreas are sluggish, you could be eating perfectly and still losing muscle. This is why digestive health becomes a central piece of the protein puzzle after 40. It is not just about the amount, it is about the efficiency of usage. Are you producing enough enzymes to break down that steak or those eggs? Are your bile salts working to emulsify fats so you can access fat-soluble vitamins? Are your gut bacteria balanced enough to avoid bloating, gas, and malabsorption? Most people never consider this. They focus on the macros but ignore the machinery that processes them. And yet, without proper digestion, even the highest quality protein can pass through you unused. So how do you fix this? It starts with slowing down, eating mindfully, chewing thoroughly, supporting your stomach acid with a squeeze of lemon water or apple cider vinegar before meals, supplementing with digestive enzymes or bitters if necessary. Eliminating foods that cause you discomfort, even if they are marketed as healthy. And perhaps most importantly, reducing chronic stress, which shuts down digestion at its core. Yes, stress, because when you are stuck in fight or flight, your body diverts energy away from digestion and towards survival. Your meals sit undigested, fermenting, causing inflammation and nutrient waste. This is not abstract, it is biology, and it explains why someone can eat clean and still feel tired, weak, or bloated. It is not what you eat, it is what you absorb, and this becomes more and more critical as we age. Your body becomes more selective, more sensitive, and less forgiving. But the good news is that you can restore this system. And when you do, something incredible happens. You start to get more from less. A meal that once left you bloated now energizes you. A workout that used to exhaust you now builds you. A morning of clarity replaces the usual fog, because the foundation has changed, and it all begins with protein. How much, when, how you digest it, and how consistent you are. You do not need perfection. You need patterns, regular signals to your body that it is safe, supported, and ready to build. And if that sounds overwhelming, remember, you are not alone in this. Millions are waking up to this new paradigm. They are rebuilding their strength in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. They are questioning old beliefs, challenging broken systems, and proving that age is not a reason to shrink, but a reason to rise. And if this message resonates with you, if you feel that subtle stirring of hope, of readiness, of urgency, then subscribe. This is not just about information, it is about transformation. Together, we are rewriting the rules of aging. One meal, one habit, one truth at a time. Because the next chapter of your life can be stronger than the last, but there is still one more trap waiting, one more common protein mistake that most people think is actually healthy. And it hides in so-called healthy snacks and drinks that are aggressively marketed to people trying to get fit after 40. Protein bars, protein shakes, and protein-enhanced snacks line the shelves of every health store and supermarket, promising quick recovery, lean muscle, and all the benefits of real food, yet delivering something else entirely. What if I told you that many of these products are doing more harm than good? That behind the shiny labels and bold claims, you are often consuming ultra-processed ingredients that inflame your gut, spike your blood sugar, and block true muscle repair? Let us take a closer look. Flip over the package of a typical protein bar. You will likely see a long list of ingredients. Artificial sweeteners like sucralose or acesulfame potassium, industrial seed oils such as sunflower or canola, soy protein isolate treated with hexane, gums, thickeners, preservatives, and artificial flavors. Now ask yourself, does this sound like something your body would easily recognize, break down, and convert into strong, resilient muscle tissue? Or does it sound like a science experiment? And yet, these bars are consumed daily by people who believe they are making a healthy choice, people who have been conditioned to fear real food in favor of convenience and branding. But here is the truth. Your body responds best to whole sources of protein: eggs, grass-fed beef, wild fish, organic chicken, fermented dairy, and legumes if properly prepared, not to a compressed bar made in a factory. Why? Because real food contains cofactors, enzymes, and natural forms of nutrients that support digestion, assimilation, and repair. The protein in a steak comes with iron, B vitamins, creatine, and collagen. The protein in wild salmon comes with omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and selenium. These synergies are not accidental. They are the result of millions of years of evolution, guiding our bodies to thrive on foods found in nature. But when we isolate and denature protein, when we strip it of context and try to improve it with chemicals, we lose the very essence of what makes it healing. And for those over 40, this mistake is magnified. Because your digestive fire is lower, your inflammation is higher, and your margin for error is thinner. A young athlete may handle a low-quality protein shake and bounce back. But someone dealing with hormonal shifts, metabolic slowdown, and chronic stress cannot afford this gamble. It is not just about macros. It is about integrity. Are you feeding your body or tricking it? Are you building resilience or patching holes? Are you honoring your biology or overriding it? These are the questions we must ask if we want real change. And the answer begins with simplicity. Focus on foods with one ingredient. Cook your own meals when possible. Learn to make quick, high-protein breakfasts like pasture-raised eggs with avocado or Greek yogurt with chia seeds and berries. Prepare easy lunches like chicken salad with olive oil, boiled eggs, or lentil stew with bone broth. And if you do need a snack, reach for real food. A handful of nuts, a slice of cheese, jerky without additives, or even a hard-boiled egg. And yes, if you choose to use protein powders, choose clean options: grass-fed whey without sweeteners, collagen peptides with no added fillers, or plant-based blends that contain nothing but real ground seeds and grains. Look for third-party testing, transparency, and integrity. Remember, your body is not a garbage disposal. It is a sacred system, and what you feed it determines what it becomes. After 40, this truth becomes even sharper, because now you are not just fighting for muscle. You are fighting for vitality, balance, and freedom. And it is entirely within your reach. Every food choice is a message, every meal is a chance to heal, and every mistake is a lesson, not a failure. You are not too old, it is not too late. And even if you have relied on bars, shakes, or processed snacks for years, you can turn the ship around. It starts today. But you must be willing to challenge comfort, to seek truth over convenience, to choose nourishment over marketing. And when you do, you will feel the difference. You will wake up clearer, train harder, recover faster, and, perhaps most importantly, trust your body again. That is the gift of real protein in real form from real food. But we are not done yet. Because there is one more mistake, possibly the most dangerous of all, a cultural lie that keeps people from making progress, especially in their 50s and 60s, a belief so ingrained it has become invisible, and yet it is holding you back more than any food, any supplement, or any workout. The last mistake lies not in what you eat, but when you eat it. The truth is, timing your protein intake is more critical than you might think, especially after you hit 40. Many people believe that spreading protein evenly throughout the day is the golden rule. They eat a small amount in the morning, a little at lunch, and maybe some at dinner, thinking this is how the body maximizes muscle repair. But what if this common advice is outdated or incomplete? What if when you eat protein, especially around your workouts and before bed, matters far more than how much you sprinkle across the day? Emerging research shows that muscle protein synthesis, the process of building new muscle, has a circadian rhythm and is most responsive during certain windows. After a workout, your muscles become like sponges, hungry to soak up amino acids and rebuild damaged fibers. If you miss this window, or do not consume enough protein during this time, you are leaving gains on the table. Worse, as you age, this anabolic window shrinks. Your muscle's ability to rebuild weakens, requiring you to be more strategic with your protein timing. But many over 40 miss this entirely. They might skip breakfast, thinking it is better to fast or cut calories. They might grab a coffee or a carb-heavy snack, then wait hours before their next protein-rich meal. And in the evening, they eat heavy carbs but no protein, missing a critical opportunity for overnight muscle repair. Your muscles do not care how busy your day is. They respond to signals, amino acids circulating in your blood, hormones like insulin and growth hormone, and rest. If you do not give your body these signals at the right times, you lose the chance to recover fully. And the consequences accumulate silently: muscle loss, slower metabolism, fatigue, and increased injury risk. The biggest problem? Most people over 40 do not even realize they are doing this. They rely on outdated nutrition advice that does not reflect their current physiology. So what is the solution? First, prioritize protein within 30 to 60 minutes after your workout. This is when your muscles are primed to absorb nutrients and begin repair. Aim for at least 40 grams of high-quality protein, combined with some healthy fats and moderate carbs to support energy and hormone balance. Second, do not neglect protein at breakfast. After 8 to 10 hours of overnight fasting, your muscles need fuel to stop breaking down and start rebuilding. A protein-rich breakfast sets the tone for your metabolism and recovery throughout the day. Third, include a protein-rich snack or small meal before bed. During sleep, your body performs critical repair and regeneration. Providing amino acids overnight prevents muscle breakdown and supports longevity. Finally, listen to your body. If you feel sluggish, weak, or have trouble recovering from workouts, consider adjusting your protein timing before simply increasing amounts. Timing is not just a detail, it is a cornerstone of effective muscle recovery, especially after 40. Ignoring it means fighting an uphill battle with one hand tied behind your back. But there is even more to consider, because your protein needs are not just about when and how much you eat. They are also about what kind of protein you choose. And that, my friend, is the next hidden secret few talk about. Yet it has the power to transform your muscle recovery in ways you have never imagined. The kind of protein you consume after 40 years old is a crucial factor often overlooked in the muscle recovery equation. Most people think all protein is created equal, that a gram of protein from any source will yield the same benefits for muscle repair and growth. But this could not be further from the truth. Your body's ability to digest, absorb, and utilize protein changes as you age, making the quality and source of protein more important than ever. For example, animal proteins like whey, eggs, and fish are considered complete because they contain all 9 essential amino acids your body cannot produce on its own. Among these, whey protein stands out for its rapid digestibility and high leucine content, a critical amino acid for triggering muscle protein synthesis. But if you are lactose intolerant, suffer from digestive issues, or prefer plant-based diets, you might turn to plant proteins. While plant proteins like pea, rice, and hemp are excellent, they often lack one or more essential amino acids, making it necessary to combine different sources for a complete profile. This means that simply grabbing a plant-based protein powder or bar may not give your muscles the full spectrum of nutrients they require. And here is the harsh reality. If you rely on low-quality or incomplete proteins, your muscle recovery after workouts slows dramatically. You may experience prolonged soreness, increased fatigue, and difficulty gaining or maintaining lean muscle mass. Even more alarming, studies have shown that older adults require more protein, sometimes up to 50% more per meal, compared to younger adults to achieve the same muscle-building effects. This phenomenon is called anabolic resistance, and it is a silent thief stealing your strength and vitality. So how do you beat it? First, focus on complete proteins, prioritizing animal sources when possible. Include eggs, wild-caught fish, grass-fed beef, and dairy from pasture-raised animals in your meals. If you prefer plants, combine complementary proteins such as beans with rice or lentils with quinoa to cover all essential amino acids. Second, consider supplementing with high-quality whey or collagen peptides to support joint health and muscle repair. Third, be mindful of protein digestibility. Cooking methods matter. Overcooked or processed proteins lose valuable nutrients and become harder to absorb. Gentle cooking methods like steaming, poaching, and slow roasting preserve protein quality and aid digestion. Fourth, support your gut health. A healthy microbiome enhances protein absorption and reduces inflammation. Fermented foods, probiotics, and fiber-rich vegetables play a vital role in this process. Lastly, remember that muscle recovery is a holistic process. Protein alone cannot work miracles if you neglect sleep, hydration, stress management, and physical activity. Your body is a complex system where every piece influences the others. Neglecting any part slows your progress and ages your muscles faster. Now, you might be wondering, is it really possible to reverse muscle loss after 60? Can I rebuild strength and resilience no matter my age? The answer is yes, but only if you understand these protein mistakes and act on them. Because the most powerful medicine you have is in your kitchen and on your plate, waiting to be unleashed. But if only it ended there. There is one final, nearly invisible trap that wrecks your muscle recovery. A common practice many fall into unknowingly, that sabotages all their hard work and nutrition, and it is so widespread, it is almost accepted as normal. But you must know about it, because this one habit could be silently destroying your progress. The final and most insidious mistake that undermines muscle recovery after 40 is the widespread reliance on excessive carbohydrate intake combined with inadequate fat consumption. For decades, mainstream nutritional advice has emphasized high-carb diets as a way to fuel workouts and maintain energy. Yet this one-size-fits-all approach fails to consider the metabolic shifts that occur as we age. After 40, your insulin sensitivity often decreases, meaning your body struggles to manage blood sugar spikes effectively. When you consume large amounts of refined carbohydrates, think white bread, pasta, sugary snacks, and even certain so-called health cereals, you trigger repeated insulin surges that promote fat storage, inflammation, and interfere with muscle protein synthesis. This metabolic chaos slows muscle repair, fuels chronic fatigue, and accelerates muscle loss. In contrast, dietary fats, especially healthy fats like omega-3 fatty acids from fish, monounsaturated fats from olive oil and avocados, and medium-chain triglycerides from coconut oil play a vital role in hormone regulation, inflammation control, and energy balance. Unfortunately, many over 40 individuals unintentionally minimize fat intake, fearing weight gain or misunderstanding its function, leading to hormonal imbalances and impaired muscle recovery. The uncomfortable truth is this: your body needs a balanced ratio of macronutrients tailored to your current physiology, not outdated blanket rules. Ignoring this means your muscles remain in a constant state of breakdown, your energy falters, and your progress stalls. But there is hope. By embracing a nutrient-dense diet that balances proteins, fats, and controlled amounts of quality carbohydrates, especially from vegetables and whole grains, you can optimize insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and create an environment for muscle regeneration. Imagine waking up with renewed strength, your body fueled by real food that supports your metabolism and recovery seamlessly. This is possible. It is within reach. Yet, to fully unlock this potential, you must commit to change today. Your body is not beyond repair. Your muscles can still rebuild. Your vitality can be restored. But only if you confront these hidden protein mistakes head-on and take intentional, informed action. This is not just about muscle. It is about reclaiming your health, your confidence, and your life. Your body can still recover, but only if you act today. Subscribe and begin the change.